Thanks
Many
for
horror
watching,
movies
and
revolve
don't
around
forget
the
to
idea of a
subscribe to my
sinister
channel
Santa,
for
but
more
shocking real-life stories also exist. Here's the disturbing account of one such case. Joseph and Alice Ortega cherished Christmas. They loved gathering their children, James, Charles, Leticia, Alicia, and Sylvia, along with their families, to celebrate. In 2008, the family hosted a Christmas Eve party at their Covina, California home, a quiet suburb near Los Angeles. That evening, as the family enjoyed a poker game, the doorbell rang. Moments later, neighbors were frantically calling 911, reporting a fire engulfing the Ortega house. It wasn't just a fire, it was an attack. Bruce Pardo, dressed as Santa Claus, had come to the party. Bruce was Sylvia Ortega Pardo's ex-husband, and their divorce had been finalized a week earlier. Overwhelmed by rage, Bruce plotted a horrifying act of revenge. He arrived with a homemade flamethrower disguised as a gift, several handguns, and gasoline. Letitia's 8-year-old daughter, excited to see Santa, opened the door. Bruce shot her in the face. Miraculously, she survived. Bruce then unleashed terror, shooting partygoers and spraying gasoline before igniting the house. 9 family members, including Joseph and Alice, lost their lives in the fire. Leticia, her husband, and her injured daughter managed to escape. As police investigated the tragedy, they learned that Bruce had fled in a car. Hours later, his brother found him dead at home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Inside his car, authorities discovered the Santa suit and ammunition, revealing the full extent of his twisted plan. This horrifying event serves as a grim reminder of how unchecked emotions can lead to devastating consequences. The tragedy in Covina took an even darker turn when authorities discovered Bruce Pardo's car was rigged to explode. The Santa suit inside triggered a blast, but luckily no one was hurt. An autopsy revealed Bruce had suffered severe burns during the attack, with parts of the costume melted onto him. He had $17,000 in cash strapped to his legs, suggesting he didn't originally plan to end his life. Police soon found another car Bruce had rented, parked in front of a Pasadena home. It contained supplies like food, clothes, maps, and a computer, clearly meant for a getaway to Mexico. Strikingly, the car was near the home of Sylvia's divorce attorney, Scott Nord. Investigators believed Bruce had planned to target Scott after the attack. Bruce's downward spiral seemed to start with a divorce, including being ordered to pay $1,800 a month in spousal support. He wasn't just angry at Sylvia, he wanted to destroy everything she loved. However, his injuries from the gasoline explosion likely forced him to abandon his plan and take his life at his brother's home instead. Despite the horrors, there were survivors. Katrina Yusupolsky, Bruce's niece, has grown up resilient and is living her life fully today. Shockingly, another killer Santa story involves Bruce MacArthur. A friendly, bearded man who worked as a mall Santa in Toronto, MacArthur seemed like an ordinary, cheerful figure. He also worked as a landscaper, trusted by clients to beautify their gardens. But behind his jolly facade was a sinister truth. MacArthur was a serial killer. Between 2010 and 2017, MacArthur murdered at least 8 men, many of whom were vulnerable individuals, immigrants, lonely, or struggling. Pretending to be welcoming, he lured his victims into a false sense of safety before killing them. Some victims were even buried in the gardens of his unsuspecting clients. MacArthur's double life was shocking to those who knew him. For years he lived what seemed like a normal life with his wife and 2 children in a quiet town near Toronto. But in the late 90s he came out as gay, left his family, and moved to Toronto. While he sought to join the LGBT community, his behavior soon alienated him. His troubles escalated in 2003 when he was convicted of assault after attacking a man with a metal pipe. MacArthur claimed he blacked out and couldn't remember why he did it. He pleaded guilty and received a conditional sentence. Bruce MacArthur was a man of 2 faces. To the world, he was a cheerful, trustworthy. What made Bruce's actions even more horrifying was his calculated disposal of evidence. He dismembered his victims and buried their remains in planter boxes and a ravine on a property he landscaped. The unsuspecting homeowner described him as the perfect friend and neighbor, unaware of the horrors hidden in her garden. Bruce's violent tendencies were not entirely hidden before his killing spree. In 2003, he assaulted a man with an iron pipe, but avoided prison by pleading guilty and agreeing to anger management counseling. His criminal record was later suspended, erasing any official trace of his past violence. Despite this, Bruce managed to evade serious scrutiny for years. In one chilling instance, a man reported Bruce for nearly choking him to death during a sexual encounter in 2016. However, Bruce convinced authorities that the act was consensual and the case was dropped. His downfall began in 2017 with the disappearance of Andrew Kinsman, a well-loved member of Toronto's gay community. Unlike Bruce's other victims, Andrew's absence was immediately noticed. Posters of his face appeared throughout the city, and the community rallied to find him. Clues began to surface. Andrew's calendar marked with Bruce's name on the day he vanished, and surveillance footage showing him entering Bruce's van. Police surveillance of Bruce led to damning discoveries. His abandoned van, found in a scrapyard, contained traces of multiple victims' blood and DNA. A covert search of his apartment revealed disturbing photos, murder tools, and keepsakes from his victims. When authorities intervened, they saved a man who had been handcuffed, blindfolded, and moments away from becoming Bruce's next victim. Bruce eventually confessed, pleading guilty to 8 murders. He showed no remorse, but spared his victims' families the trauma of a lengthy trial. He was sentenced to life in prison, leaving behind unanswered questions about whether his killing spree extended beyond the known victims. The case served as a haunting reminder that appearances can be deceiving. To those who saw him as a cheerful Santa or trusted landscaper, Bruce McArthur seemed the epitome of goodwill, but behind closed doors, he was one of Canada's most notorious serial killers, leaving a chilling legacy that still reverberates today. The story of Bruce McArthur is a chilling reminder that darkness can hide behind the most unassuming facades. Where a man who seemed to embody kindness and community spirit as a mall Santa and trusted landscaper was, in reality, a calculated predator who exploited trust and vulnerability to carry out unspeakable acts. For years, Bruce evaded suspicion, blending seamlessly into the very community he targeted, until his final misstep led to his capture. His crimes left a deep scar on Toronto's LGBTQ+ community, highlighting systemic failures in addressing the disappearances of marginalized individuals. While his guilty plea spared families a drawn-out trial, it offered little solace for the lives lost and the questions that remain unanswered. Bruce McArthur's case serves as a grim warning about the dangers of complacency in the pursuit of justice and the lengths to which predators can manipulate appearances. It's a haunting example of how evil can wear a mask of normalcy, reminding us to remain vigilant and compassionate toward those who are often overlooked or marginalized.